Would you like to see a macro picture of what's happening in the world market today? Would you like to see where Bitcoin's probably going in the next 3 to 4 weeks? How about gold? How about the S&P futures? How about the NASDAQ and more? Even the DXY, the dollar. Hey, ETH Bitcoin. We got to break it down. Let's see where we're going. Let's see what's happening. Even Bitcoin dominance. When's alt season? Key questions. Let's give you the key answers right now on your Friday macro analysis. Shout out to everybody here looking at Bitcoin. Last week, we sat here together. We talked about if the weekly candle closed red, that it would be a bearish sign for Bitcoin and likely follow a bearish candle. Why? I'm a simple guy. I just go over the analysis. If we take a look at it, we can clearly see that if this candle closed red right there on the weekly, we had massive pullback. This candle closed red next to a green candle, massive pullback, 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 pullback. It happened every time, basically. So it looks like it's going to happen yet again. We're also kind of distancing ourselves away from the 21-day moving average. So as you can start to see, we're getting into that area. Now, Bitcoin starts when it's tight on the weekly, and as the moving averages get far apart, that tends to be the closer end of the rally. So Bitcoin, beautiful pump to the upside, had a really nice run, but it's starting to kind of falter a little bit. Does this mean the rally's over completely? No, we still got a pretty nice uptrend that we'd have to break. For instance, we'd have to see a low close below 100,000. In my humble opinion now that has been the previous low, now we have a high. So can we make a low higher than this previous resistance that could bounce us further to the upside is the question in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we have about 3 to maybe even 5 weeks of pullback, possibly hit the 21, continue to pump. Chance we could even go more further to the upside in a trend as well and make an uptrending flag. Both of these are possibilities, but at the end of the day, we're looking at a pullback for Bitcoin or a slight sideways price action. So it doesn't look like we're going to get a huge pump anytime soon. We're coming off that huge all-time high near 123,000. We did hit 120K, I think even just yesterday or the day before. So Bitcoin's been flirting with the higher areas, but this morning took a nasty dump down to the liquidity zone at 115,000, which was likely. BOOKMAP kind of called that area. Are we done with 115K? It was deep red for a long time. The red is kind of starting to drift away. That means we've gone through it all, showing signs that we may be done going lower. There is still more liquidity, though, down at 113.5, which may have to be cleaned up. And then the next big zone, there's some liquidity still at 120K, though, sitting there on the board, and between 116 and 117.5. That's BOOKMAP. Link to BOOKMAP in the description of all my videos. I do get a commission if you sign up to BOOKMAP. I'd greatly appreciate that. So Bitcoin, to me, very likely a pullback. And then you want to pull a Fibonacci on that too as well. And you can see, I mean, 108, 109, $110,000 level would not be crazy to think that Bitcoin could be pulling back here to the 21. Was this around all the markets? No, it seemed like the other predictions I made for the NASDAQ and for the S&P are actually pretty good. And they are uncorrelated as we predicted last week. So last week we went over the fact that if this closed red, we would come here next week with a red candle. It's exactly what happened. That's what the probability spoke. And it does say that if this closes red, that we may continue further down unless we start to consolidate more sideways. If we start to consolidate more sideways, we'll pull up to 21, and it's in either way, we're getting a slow bleed down or a sideways movement. I do not see a pump for Bitcoin in the next 4 to 5 weeks out of nowhere. Maybe a bounce off a bottom level, like through a range, like we might go from 114 back up to 116 or 120, but nothing significant. I don't see us breaking the all-time high anytime soon. Right now, we're going to have to consolidate, find a bullish pattern, kind of like we did here. It tends to take its time after a massive pump like this. And so Bitcoin, going to take a little bit of time. Can the altcoins get that liquidity before the dump? And that's what we want to see. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Is it giving up or is it holding back from the altcoins? So right now, right off the bat, let's take a look at the big picture for Bitcoin dominance. And that's going to be like the weekly chart, right? And you can see we crossed the 200 moving average, and Bitcoin dominance has been on an absolute tear. And then it was dumping, and it looked like the altcoins were going to win this beautiful battle between Bitcoin and the alts, and it was awesome. But then things got halted there, and Bitcoin kind of took storm again, and now we're in this position where, I don't know, we got the bounce, a little sketchy. So now we kind of need to zoom in to see more information on the weekly to see what could be happening to Bitcoin. So we move into the 3-day chart, and you can see kind of struggling. It would be nice if we bear flag this and continue down, and then we look down to like the daily. What I like now is the daily still staying below the 200 moving average. So as long as the daily does that, this is still alt season, and we're still going to have our rally for altcoins. So we just want to make sure that when we consolidate on Bitcoin dominance, we don't consolidate back above that 200 moving average. We consolidate below it, meaning we make this bear flag up and down below it for the next 4 to 5 days. So it looks like some sideways price action for altcoins, for Bitcoin dominance. And then, honestly, actually sideways price action for Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance, but it may bleed a little bit slowly. But then once we get the sideways price action, it says somewhere by about August 2nd or 3rd, boom, we can get our next leg for the altcoins like we got here and start to get a move Solana up to 250, 270, stuff like that. So Bitcoin dominance looking pretty interesting right off the bat. Let's take a look at Tether dominance. I think these are important. These are what you really want to see because people are wondering, like, is alt season continuing? What's happening? And everyone's kind of stuck right now. They want to see what's going on. US Tether dominance. Let's take a look-see. And again, we'll kind of refresh this one on the big picture too. But when I see it, I see a descending triangle. You see that? Flattening on the bottom, scaling down on the top, and getting tighter into the zone. And the more, we might get a little bit of a balance tightness, but that suggests that eventually Tether dominance is falling off a cliff. And we could get a beautiful little alt season there, even back to like 1% or 1.95. So that would be amazing considering there's more coins out here. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see Tether dominance get back above this 200 moving average on the daily. Same thing we kind of talked about with Bitcoin dominance, right? And so we would like to see this continue lower. It's bouncing right now. All right, mind you, it's bouncing right now. See the 4 hour, it's all kind of looking like it may make a bounce. So it's showing signs of a possible bounce here. So what we'd like to see is have this turn into some type of bear flag like this. Never really fully capture its way outside the 200 moving average. Never really get out of this channel. And then continue a bear flag to the downside here on Tether dominance. So it's so far so good. We're starting the downtrend. There's always a little bit of a pump back up. Just like when you pump, there's always a little pullback before you continue. And that's healthy. We just do not want to see Tether dominance break back above that 200. Awesome. I like it. Let's take a look at total market cap. The entire market cap of all of cryptocurrency. See what's happening right now. See where we're going. So we talked about this bigger flag. Let's break it down. We talked about this bigger flag. Let's take a look at it on the weekly. Beautiful move. We got into higher lows. We continued to go up higher and higher. We broke the all-time high. Amazing. Let's take a look at the 2-week chart. 2-week chart still has legs. Said it's not ready to be done yet and could still pump, which is a good sign. 3-week chart looks like it's just getting started. The last time we were there, we had some big pumps coming from that zone. So back to the 3-day and the daily. That's overbought. And it's saying like it needs to chill out a little bit. So again, just like Bitcoin, we're either getting some sideways price action or a dump. Either one are healthy and good for resetting. The sideways price action, obviously just more bullish. Do I know what's going to happen for sure? No. Do I know the probabilities? Yes. The probability is more likely a pullback. Why? It's just where the 21 lies. If the 21 is a little further up here, then it would be more likely we go sideways. 21 is pretty far, considering we kind of have to breach the gap and pull that back to itself. So it tells me that price and the 21 are a little too far away. We may need to be coming back here to the 21-day moving average for price. However, we have some previous resistance which could hold that support. So we're looking for this to go sideways. Watch your 3-day chart. In the next 6 days, if you make 2 candles next to this and not down, it's more likely we're pumping out of the flag. If the next 6 days you see a candle down here, we're making the falling wedge. So this is an important structure to watch on the 3-day, and it will really give you the insight as to what's going to happen halfway through the week. So you'll be kind of like 4 or 5 days before of everybody based off this insight, right? I don't know what's going to happen just now, but I know how to use this insight to be ahead of the crowd later on in the week. So total looks good to me. It's not a complete collapse here. So far, so good. But the 3-day chart does suggest it does have to pull back a little bit before our next big move. Total 3, I believe, is going to look very, very similar to this. Just a little more, of a pullback, but same idea. Pull back here, stay inside this flag, and then let's consolidate on these altcoins. It looks like they may be ready, but they just got to take their time. And then boom, that'll be a really big solid leg up. The whole market will be ready. People will feel really confident because the consolidation will give us that confirmation. But it does suggest we're pulling back. Look at the 3-day overbought. We had our pump out of all those cup and handles. We were oversold, cup and handles, everything did its thing. We had 12, 15, 16 days of pump. Now there's going to be some type of pullback, and Total 3 suggests the same as well. And there you have it, right? And then we look at the DXY, right? The dollar index. That looks like it's going to form into a bear flag and continue down. Overbought on the daily too as well. If it bounces back above here, it actually hasn't been completely uncorrelated, but some days it's pumping with Bitcoin, some days it's dumping. Mostly it is inversely correlated, but lately they've been pumping and dumping together too, which has been interesting to see. Right now, I still see it moving further down though, if we have to make the call on the DXY. S&P futures. Last time we went over it, we said I see it pumping. I said, make this flag. I see they're going to continue to print. I said, I see this flag continuing to do damage to the upside. I see next week we're either going to be slower in this flag breaking out, or maybe possibly breaking out already. We're even ahead of the game here with a massive breakout, which is pretty crazy, right? It's the 25th. I was live just with you guys on the 17th, or was it, Friday the 18th? Yeah, right here on the 18th. And we were talking about how we were probably going to continue further to the upside and break out, and the S&P just did that. It's just pretty crazy. And we actually put this flag out even the prior week before that. So we've been tracking this flag since really the beginning of July. Every time I give you your macro analysis, been 3 of them. The 18th, right? Then you go back to the 11th, and then go all the way back to the 3rd, and we've been tracking this ever since, so we've been spot on. I see this headed further up as they continue to print money. Where's it going? Into the market, 65.98 for the S&P. NASDAQ, similar story, really, just kind of somewhat of a different flag. This one actually has an entry there with a stop, and I say that's a long-term NASDAQ trade that looks like it could break out all the way to 25.58. Right now, I would just reposition this flag and say it's just doing this. And same thing I'm going to say as I said last week, like I see this continuing, like probably come up and down, go tight, and then sometimes by next week here, we're going to have the 25th, the 26th, the 27th, 28th, the 31 days, yeah. So basically, we'll be back here on the 31st of July, which is crazy. Thursday, the 31st. And likely we're either sideways or breaking out of here. Again, on the NASDAQ. And that call will continue. You could probably bring that stop loss to break even now on the NASDAQ. So another macro call. These things keep going by. And it's been amazing. So that's your macro analysis for basically everything. Let's take a look at gold real quick and ETHBTC before we jump on out of here, just to kind of give you another idea. I like gold. Came up to the top of the channel, back down. I see gold just consolidating. This is beautiful movement for gold. This is what I was looking for, is gold just to consolidate inside this flag. Ascending triangles could break down. They're 50-50, but I believe when I come back next week and the charts convey, you'll get a bounce here, start to get tight, and gold's getting ready to break out. They're going to continue to print money, and the dollar's going to drop in value. I see the gold ripping to about 3,970. The one thing I do see, though, is the dollar dropping severe value, which is going to be tight, and it looks like it could get worse. Last thing I'll look at is ETHBTC. And ETH Bitcoin's still looking great. It will consolidate, it looks like, for the next 2 weeks. And it says somewhere by August 3rd or 4th into that area, we can start get our next pump for the altcoins. But it's going to take about 7 to 12 days for Ethereum to consolidate, and that's what the ETHBTC chart is showing. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this macro analysis video. Put a lot of effort into it every single Friday to make sure you're on track to see the big picture in the world markets. If you like this type of technical analysis, know I go live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. I can't wait to see you on stream. I also do content like this and pre-recorded videos that will be coming out throughout the week. If you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. And remember, crypto is life.